The sky above the war-torn planet of Calithra burned with a crimson hue, as if the atmosphere itself mourned the devastation below. Ships carved streaks of silver across the heavens, darting between explosions like predatory birds in a storm. On the ground, the air was thick with dust and the acrid stench of scorched metal. Humanity had never faced an enemy like this before, and yet, here she was, standing at the edge of a crumbling city, watching it all burn. Seraphine, the queen of the Veari, an alien race of unparalleled power, observed the chaos with eyes that glimmered like molten gold. Her people had once sought peace with humans, but centuries of mistrust had twisted negotiations into war. Entire colonies were reduced to smoldering ruins, and yet, in all the destruction, there was one human who intrigued her above all others: Captain Elias Thorne. Elias wasn't a hero in the conventional sense. He was a survivor, a man who had seen too much blood to call any of this war noble. But he had an audacity, a defiance that reminded Seraphine of a time when her kind had believed in diplomacy rather than conquest. She had watched him for weeks, unseen, observing how he risked his life not just to survive, but to save others. And now, as he maneuvered a squad of human refugees through the rubble, she felt a pull she could not deny. The war had cost her everything: her advisors, her generals, her patience. And yet, Seraphine had an idea, one that could end the war in a single act. If Elias became hers, completely, utterly, the Veari would cease their assault. It was a thought that made her pulse quicken, even as it chilled her with its audacity. The first encounter. Elias Thorne never believed in aliens being beautiful. His experience told him they were either terrifying predators or indifferent observers. But when Seraphine materialized before him in the ruins of New Calithra, she was neither. She appeared as a silhouette against the crimson sky, her presence radiating a power that made the air shimmer. She was taller than any human, with armor that seemed to flow like liquid silver, and eyes that could pierce through a man's soul. "Captain Elias Thorne," she said, her voice both commanding and melodic. "I have watched your courage, your determination. I offer you a choice." Elias instinctively raised his plasma rifle, though his instincts screamed that this was no ordinary threat. "I don't negotiate with aliens who've already bombed my city," he spat. "I do not intend to harm you," she replied, stepping closer, the ground seeming to bend beneath her presence. "I offer an end to this war. One choice. One bond. If you accept, I will stop the destruction of your people." Elias narrowed his eyes. "And what exactly do you mean by bond?" Seraphine's golden gaze softened, and she reached a hand toward him, the air shimmering with a subtle energy. "If you become mine, not in servitude, not as a prisoner, but as a partner of trust and allegiance, the Veari will withdraw. Peace will be restored." Elias laughed bitterly. "You're asking me to what? Fall in love with an alien? Or serve as your consort while my people die?" Seraphine's expression didn't waver. "Neither. I ask for your choice. Your will. The war can end if you stand with me, willingly." For a moment, the sounds of gunfire and explosions faded. He looked around at the city, broken, burning, haunted by the screams of innocence. The weight of his decision pressed against him. And then he realized something terrifying. The war might never end on its own. The humans were losing, and the Veari were unstoppable. A dangerous alliance. The next few days were tense. Elias agreed to meet Seraphine at a neutral location, an abandoned orbital station hovering over Calithra. The station was a skeleton of its former glory, its corridors lit only by flickering emergency lights. "You have to understand," Elias said as they walked through the silence of the station, "I can't just pledge myself to someone. The humans, they'd see it as betrayal. And yet, Captain, you already protect them every day, Seraphine said softly. This is not betrayal. This is salvation. He kept his hand close to his sidearm, eyes flicking to her constantly. How do I know I can trust you? Or that you won't just change your mind? Her lips curved into a faint smile. Because I do not bargain with false promises. You have my word, Elias. And my word is unbreakable. That night, as they stared down at the planet below from the station's observation deck, Elias began to understand her power. Not just the cosmic might that could obliterate cities, but the authority in her calm, unyielding presence. For the first time in the war, he saw a path to peace. The test of loyalty. Seraphine didn't demand blind obedience. She tested him. Over the course of a week, she placed him in situations where he could act selfishly or sacrificially. Every decision he made strengthened her confidence in him. He risked his life to save human refugees, negotiated truces with rogue Vayari units, and even shielded her from an assassination attempt orchestrated by her own council, who opposed the alliance. Elias, in turn, began to see her not just as an alien monarch, but as a being capable of empathy, loyalty, and even tenderness. She was ruthless when the situation demanded it, but fair, and her vision of a peaceful galaxy became something he could believe in. And then came the moment that would change everything. The ultimatum. Seraphine brought Elias to the heart of her capital, a city of crystal towers that seemed to float above the planet. Her generals and council awaited them, their expressions a mix of awe and fury. This is the moment, she said, her voice echoing in the grand hall. Captain Elias Thorne will decide the fate of your species. The council erupted in anger. This is treachery, one general shouted. No human will dictate Vayari policy. Seraphine raised a hand, and the room fell silent. The human has earned this choice, and he has chosen wisely. Elias stepped forward, feeling every eye upon him. I will stand with her. Not as a subject, not as a pawn, but as an ally, as someone who believes this war must end. A wave of energy swept through the chamber. The Vayari forces stationed across the planet ceased all attacks. Communication channels opened with human commanders, and peace negotiations began almost immediately. But the price was clear. Elias had pledged himself to Seraphine. He didn't fully understand what that meant yet, only that he had chosen a future where countless lives would be spared. The human who became hers in the quiet that followed, Seraphine and Elias walked through the floating city. The war was over, but the bond between them was only beginning to form. You did it, she said softly. You ended the war. We did it, he replied, glancing at her. Together. She reached out, brushing her hand against his cheek. There will be challenges ahead. Our peoples will resist this union. But I promise you, Elias, I will honor my word. We will find a way forward together. He swallowed hard, the weight of everything he had chosen settling over him. I don't know if I can ever fully belong to you, or if anyone could, but I know this. I believe in what we've started, and I believe in you. Seraphine's eyes softened, and for the first time, her formidable exterior seemed to melt into something human, something vulnerable. Then we will face the future side by side, human. And perhaps one day, you will see me as I truly am. Elias looked down at the city, at the lives they had saved, and then back at her. He realized that in pledging himself to Seraphine, he had not given up his humanity. He had chosen hope, and in that choice, the war ended. The ending, the sky above Calithra shifted from crimson to gold, the first rays of a peaceful dawn spilling across the ruins. People emerged from shelters, blinking at the light, feeling the weight of fear lift from their shoulders. The sound of rebuilding, of life, began to rise like music from the ashes. Seraphine and Elias stood atop the highest tower of her crystal city, watching as humans and Veari cautiously met, exchanged words, and forged the beginnings of friendship. "I never imagined this," Elias said, voice low. "I thought the war would never end." "Neither did I," Seraphine admitted. "But you showed me that, even amidst chaos, one choice, one bond, can change everything." He looked at her, this being of immense power and beauty, and understood the truth of her words. It was not conquest that changed the galaxy, but trust. Not fear, but love or something like it. The wind whipped around them, carrying with it the scent of a new beginning. Elias took her hand, feeling the pulse of energy beneath her skin. "If being yours means saving billions, then yes," he said quietly. "I am yours." Her golden eyes softened, and for the first time, a smile curved her lips that was both tender and triumphant. "Then let us save the future together." The dawn of peace stretched before them, endless and bright, and for the first time in centuries, Seraphine let herself believe that love, even between two worlds, could be powerful enough to stop a war. The war had ended. The human had become hers. And together, they would shape a future neither species could have imagined.